Hey everybody, it's this is our Wednesday devotion, May the 20th, and this is the Word with Wells. And I want to thank you for joining me again. This is every morning I post kind of what the Lord has been saying to me and speaking to me, especially as I awaken. I listen to His voice to see how He may have a word for me personally and a word for you. And so this morning, actually yesterday, I the Lord gave me two things, and I shared one on yesterday, and I'm sharing the other part today. The Lord gave me a passage of scripture that um, you may not be familiar with, and so it's found in um, 2 Samuel chapter 9. 2 Samuel chapter 9. And it says, verse 1, and David said, is there still anyone left of the house of Saul that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake? Now there was a servant of the house of Saul whose name was Ziba, and they called him to David. And David said to him, are you Ziba? And he said, I am your servant. And the king said, is there not still someone of the house of Saul that I may show the kindness of God to him? Ziba said to the king, there is still a son of Jonathan. He is crippled in his feet. The king said to him, where is he? And Ziba said to the king, he is in the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, at Lodebar. When King David sent and brought him from the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, at Lodebar, and Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, son of Saul, came to David and fell on his face and paid homage. But David said to Mephibosheth, and he answered, behold, I am your servant. And David said to him, do not fear, for I will show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan, and I will restore to you all the land of Saul your father, and you shall eat at my table always. I want you to pay attention to what happens here, how Mephibosheth responds. And he paid homage and said, this is Mephibosheth, what is your servant that you should show regard for a dead dog such as I? Now, so here's the backstory. David loved his dear friend and covenant brother, Jonathan, the son of King Saul. David and Jonathan were covenant brothers. They looked after each other. And you know the story. If you read of how Saul anger turned against David, and Jonathan went and warned him and shot an arrow and told David, if I shoot the arrow past you, you'll know what that means. And so David and Jonathan had this amazing relationship. It was not impure. It was not homosexual. It was the love between two men, and it was considered a covenant relationship. That's what they did. They cut covenant with one another. And so, obviously, when Saul and Jonathan was murdered, David arose to the throne. But David loved Jonathan, respected Saul, did not try to harm him when he had opportunity. And so, David, who is now king, who had made a pledge and a promise that he would take care of Jonathan's family. And so, David, at this point, early in his reign, wants to know, is there any family member of Jonathan that I could treat well? And they call the servant Ziba, and Ziba informs David that there is a son who was crippled at a young age. His nurse dropped him and unfortunately caused him to be crippled. And he was being taken care of by this servant. So David finds this servant. The servant is brought to David. The servant tells David that there's a son, and the son of Jonathan is Mephibosheth. And so David summons Mephibosheth to the king's presence, and he basically says to Mephibosheth, I'm going to take care of you to honor your father Jonathan, my blood brother, my covenant brother, who I love greatly. I'm going to take care of you all the days of your life. But what I want you to focus on here is how Mephibosheth responds. Mephibosheth says, I'm nothing. I'm no one. I'm worse than a dead dog, which was in those age, or in that period, was considered contemptible and useless. So Mephibosheth saw himself in such a way that he didn't feel like he merited any good thing, primarily because he was crippled, and his father, the